further than 5, you're gonna find it. So 1, yeah, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. Okay, here. The spawner isn't showing up on my pie chart. My render distance is 2. That means I'm only loading 2 chunks away, 1 and 2. And if I increase my render distance to 3, then I'm loading 3 chunks in all directions. 4. Now it says that the pie chart is detected, right? Oh, when I get to 6, it shows up as detected. So what I'm pretty much doing is increasing my render distance to load more chunks. And when I load in the chunk that the spawner is in, by increasing my render distance, it's gonna show up on my pie chart. But how do I know which way I go to get to the spawner? So if I'm just here and I'm increasing my render distance and then suddenly it shows up, the spawner can be anywhere. I don't really know where I go. So when I increase my render distance and suddenly it starts showing up that a spawner has been loaded in, I'm gonna go down by 4. I'm gonna decrease my render distance by 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm gonna close my pie chart and open it again. And then I'm going to increase it by 3. 1, 2, 3. My pie chart still hasn't shown the spawner because I'm still 1 chunk away. Now, if I walk in the direction of the spawner, I'm gonna cross the chunk boundary, which makes a chunk load over there, like gets rendered, and it's the chunk the spawner is in. So because I walked into this direction and because I crossed this, the spawner loaded in, then I know that my spawner is gonna be all the way over there in this direction. But let's say that I walked into this direction and nothing showed up. What do I do then? Well, you're supposed to check all 4 directions, right? To know where the spawner is, and we know that it's there, but see how it doesn't light up on my pie chart in any other direction other than that direction? It takes a long time to check all 4 directions like this. So one thing people do is by going to a corner of the chunk border, you can, instead of checking all 4 sides, you can kind of walk in this direction. If the spawner didn't load in, then you can walk in this direction. If it still didn't load in, then you can increase your render distance by 1. And then go back to where you came from. So forward, the spawner loaded in. So it's that way. It saves a little bit of time instead of having to check all 4 sides like this. You kind of just do it at a corner and increase your render distance as needed. So there's no spawners, and I know like it's over there. If I was standing in this chunk, it would be loaded but because I'm over here, it's not. But my render distance is high enough that if I walk past this boundary, it's gonna load it. I'm not sure if that makes sense. Anyway, that's pretty much how we're gonna find the spawner. It's always going to be 16 chunks or less away from the starting bastion. So you're pretty much, when you're done with the bastion, you can lower your render distance all the way down and increase it until a spawner loads into the pie chart. So it loads in at 7. In a real run, it's probably going to be something like here. So how much do I need to raise it? Wait, did I get closer? Let me go here. Okay, 16. the spawner is 16 chunks away. When it flares up, I'm gonna go down by 4 and then up by 3. And then I'm gonna go to a corner of the chunk that I'm in. I'm gonna walk into a different chunk, then walk into a different chunk, then raise my render distance, and then go back. Okay, the spawner is over there in this direction. And I can do it in any orientation. So if I was here and I raise it, flares up. Okay, now it says that the spawner is loaded. So I'm gonna go down by 4, up by 3, and then I'm gonna cross into 1, increase my render distance, go back. Okay, so the direction that I walked into, that's where the spawner is. So you're kind of just I'm not sure how to say it. You're loading stuff in, and where you're loading it, like, do you see the square that I'm loading? That's pretty much my render distance. The lower it is, the less is being loaded, and the more that my render distance is, the more that is being loaded. I load in the spawner wherever the spawner is being loaded. I can pinpoint which direction it's coming from using the pie chart. You can pinpoint the direction it's coming from using the pie chart. There are some rare cases where you load a spawner, but it's not meant to be the fortress, like it's a different fortress, or it spawns in a diagonal position, and that's, I don't really even understand how to explain that. Like sometimes the spawner is being loaded in a completely weird position and you really don't know. It's like it shows up as being loaded over there or something, but it's actually over there. I don't know how to explain it. You get the basic explanation. So let's go to our world and let's go to a bastion and let's try to find, oh, by the way, something I forgot about treasure bastions is I need to add this to the treasure bastion section, but set block nether portal here, treasure. Inside the big box at the very bottom of it, there's a spawner, and this is gonna mess with our pie chart. We can't use our pie chart to find the fortress if it's a treasure bastion. We have to get rid of the spawner first. And the way you do that is by boating down. You can boat down this bridge, but before you do that, you can throw a pearl backward. So turn on your chunk borders and cross the threshold of the chunk border, and it's always going to be here or relatively here, and throw a pearl into this chunk, so not this one, this one. So be behind it and then throw a pearl into that chunk and turn your render distance down to the minimum 2, and then boat down onto the bridge. So onto the bridge, then you can break this block here, or like I already broke the spawner, but you're gonna find the spawner there. You can just break it. Oh, look, there's a bunch of gold at the bottom of treasure, and also a chest. You can get some extra gold if you want to. Anyway, when you turn up your render distance to 5, you should load in the pearl you threw, so you start over here instead of all the way down there. Anyway, let's try to find a spawner. Apparently there's a spawner 9 chunks away, so we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go down by 4, 1 2 3 4, up by 3, 1 2 3, turn on chunk borders and go to a corner. So whoa, as soon as I crossed this chunk border, my pie chart lit up. So it means that the spawner is 8 chunks that way. So we're gonna go 8 chunks. Let's count, shall we? So here I think it was 8 chunks this way. So 1, this is 1 chunk. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the spawner is actually over there. It's right here, this one. This is the chunk that was being loaded. So if I was over here, let's say I was on 2, let me go further away. And let me come closer. Whoa, it already loads it. But you get the idea. It's in the general vicinity of 8 chunks away, I guess. You can do it also like if it was perfectly like this, like here, and I go 1 chunk, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I go down to 2, and I go down to 7, and I go forward 1. This is 1 chunk, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if I was a little bit offset, then it would still show up, because the way the render system works is you load the chunks in all 4 directions around you, right? So you can load a spawner that isn't perfectly straight from you. It can be a little bit off center. And yeah, I'm not the best PyDAR technician, but that's the way I understand it, and hopefully that made some sense. So we're gonna find the fortress that way. So if we were in the treasure, we would break the spawner at the bottom, get up here, load the spawner. So again, we know that it's 8 because we already did the -4 plus 3, and walk into any direction. If the thing flares up, if it doesn't, let's say it doesn't, let's say we went here. So let me go to 8. Let's say I was here and I was checking this direction first. I would go here and then cross this chunk boundary, and then I'm gonna raise my render distance by 1, go back and go back. So that way. So I'm gonna just go there. And the way you do this, by the way, is with pearls. If you have food, you can just pearl away. Or you can even see it over there. That's another thing you should know. Remember Jingle, the thing that we use to do our thin macro? There's a wide macro as well. Hopefully you set it to a button. The planar abuse macro. When you click it, you can see way off into the distance by looking at the corners of your map. So when you're using planar abuse to look around, you don't want to just look straight ahead. Like if I'm trying to see what's over there, I shouldn't be looking at it like that. I should be looking with the corner of my screen. Like my eyes are positioned here. That's where I'm looking when I'm using planar abuse. So hopefully that makes sense. You're looking with the corner of your screen. You're not looking at the center of it. You're looking at the very corner of the wide macro, because that lets you see through the fog. So that's another way to spot things that are really far away. I can't see any of the fortress right now. Maybe if I look really, really down, and I can see at the top of my screen, like the pillars of the fortress. But yeah, that's not really that sufficient. You can use wide macro, toggle perspective, you can see way more. It's really nice. And that's another way to spot when you're like close to a fortress or a structure. If you want to check it out, you can use wide macro to figure out where you need to go. Anyway, let's say you just finished